Well, it is 5 days in, and this is my podcast, John Buffalo, who you're listening to right now. And right now, we are going over from when we cut clones from our basically 17-year-old mom and getting those clones going. So, if you were in the last podcast, you know that we had cut the clones and we were getting those ready. And we're now going to start checking on them. And how I'm going to do that actually is I'm going to pull out my tray, guys. And I'm gonna kind of get this going here, and I'm trying to find out a way. It's how I can actually just mount my phone so I can keep talking and do this with everybody. So what I'm going to be doing here right now is pretty much checking my dome. And when I'm checking my dome, and as I can say, so more than likely, if you haven't touched it, because I haven't told you to, I said put the lid onto it and leave it on. If you're taking it off, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. But I like to keep that moisture inside, more of that humid area. Now, I didn't really get into actually spraying with a water bottle. So I actually have like just a glass jar with a spray bottle on it with some the water I use actually, which is going to be very interesting. Something that is a trick that I always do. So when I take my clones, I will actually leave a couple of those clones in a cup. So I'm actually going to go grab the cup, and I just keep doing this. So I keep clones in a cup with water, and then I'll actually, when I go to cut my first clones, I actually keep the water clones out of the cup. I take the water that was in that cup, I pour it into my jar with my squirt bottle. So now I have basically the water's been 5 or 6 days sitting out, so there's no chlorine in it. If you have any, if you're from city water, if you're not using distilled water or anything, this might be a really good method of making sure that that water, well, chloramine I think takes up to 14 days to come out of your water, but like ammonia and these type of things that are in your basic city water, it's very light amount, by the way. It's not going to harm you in any way. It's to get rid of bacteria and break down all these things, right? So it will evaporate over a period of night. So we used to leave our water always out for 24 hours before we would add any nutrients. These are some of the things we've done in the past, right? So and we'll even talk about some of these great seeds. If you just listen to the last podcast on genetics we just got from Scully Wag Seed Company. So definitely check out that episode. So what I'm going to do right now is you guys are probably staring at your dome right now, and you can see there's moisture all over top of that dome. So don't sweat yourself. If you've taken it off in the past, that's okay too. I sometimes wipe it out, but when I first initially take it off, I'm going to take my dome off, and you can see that they're pretty much, I can even feel the heat coming off of this, which is really cool. So you take off, you can feel the heat because the dome is making sure that these are hot and humid. I'm going to reach inside. They're not actually dried out that much yet. They're borderline, maybe one more day before I have to actually give these actually any water. So what I'm doing is I'm going to pull one out right now, and I can still feel this. Oh, it's getting borderline. And what I mean by that, I can actually see it moving around inside. So this was the bigger one. I'm squishing it. There's no moisture in it whatsoever right now. I'm going to grab another one beside it. Now this one here is about the same thing. So these are definitely going to need some water. Now, I used to always take one at a time and dip it in the water. And then I used to always pull them out and stuff like that. But I got a squirt bottle in my hand right now, and I'm actually going to mist these just for the time being, give them a little bit of moisture. Not much, a couple squirts, get that going. And then, of course, I have my clones in my cup, which is awesome. I'm going to set them off to the side because I'm going to add water to that again. But I actually just have a cup of water. And what I mean by a cup of water is I'm just going to put it on the side of my dome, and I'm just going to kind of just pour half of that cup of water down the side. And when I do that, I kind of lift up my tray, and I let the water go down through that, so it kind of gets more moisture in those peats. And I can definitely feel the heat coming from there because of the heat mat, which is very nice. It kind of makes that very easy to use, and at the same time, it makes it easy on both ends. So I'm actually gonna do the same thing, and I always like to move them in. And on this side here, they're borderline too. So like I said, I'm being a little lazy by just pouring water in the side and on these peats, but just very lightly, guys. It's not like I'm just dumping the whole cup. And you don't have to worry about getting the plants wet, and I pour the rest on the top. It will drip down. Now, these aren't ready yet. So I'm actually going to tip the tray back and forth to each side. And I can definitely feel the weight on that because that's actually bothering me a tiny bit. So that's pretty much what I've done right now. Day 5, we've added a little bit of extra water. Now, the top of my dome is, of course, full of moisture. Now, and also, when your tray is sitting out, moisture is going to come down the inside of the tray. We used to tape these shut back in the days. It was kind of funny. We've done all kinds of things. But just wipe the inside of your dome out with a piece of paper towel. And that way, with the moisture that you just put inside of this dome, you're able to go to the top and evaporate again. You don't want to have moisture in the dome right now. You just added more moisture to your plants. Now, if you left this moisture on the top and you added moisture on the bottom, you're going to start getting signs of, you'll see like fungus, mildews. You can get like rot around stem rot. And we've seen all kinds of different things. Probably some of my old videos too, guys. Wow, this is actually not, ouch. So we're going to get this back on there. I've wiped out the dome now. I've got it all nice and clean. And now I'm going to take the top of my vents and I'm just going to crack them open. And I'm talking like, we're talking like maybe 1/8 of an inch. Like just barely. And if you don't have domes like this, if you have domes, make sure the domes that you haven't discussed that. The domes I have are actually the Mondi domes. And on the tops, they have little lids that you can turn to allow the moisture to come out. I do not open these for the first 5 days. After 5 days, I do open them. Back in the days, after 5 days, we used to just take the tray off and tilt it a little bit on the plants. And this way, it was easier to like allow that heat to get in there. Now, sometimes there's a trick in getting the lids on is you can pull it back to the side and pull the leaf in. And you get the leaf in like this. You can't see this, guys, so I'm kind of talking to myself as I'm doing this. But you want to make sure the leaves aren't coming over the side of your tray and that you got everything back in. You can put your tray back on there. Make sure it's over your heating mat, of course. Make sure the vents are open just a tiny bit for day 5. I open up just a tiny bit. And then I'm good to go for a couple more days before I'm able to check this. And hopefully in the next 2 or 3 days, day 7, day 8, we might start seeing some roots. I'm going to say we will start seeing roots. So we'll do a 3-day update, and this will be just a couple short little tutorial videos on how rooting clones, getting your clones ready for roots. This is from the same mother plant. You know, things just work out really well when you just stay consistent. So something I've always done. They all look very healthy. I've done a little bit of misting on the top. And as I put the lid back on and just have those things open just 1/4 inch, there's already mist forming on the inside of the dome because of the mat being hot and because of the peats being warm. It works out good. Of course, Morpheus is going to walk in here right now. How you doing, Morpheus? Going to check things out. So, Meryl, are you good for that? We're going to leave it with Morpheus. He's just coming up here to take a look. He wanted to make sure I did everything fine. And this is just rooting your clones. You know, it's just like a standard one-on-one. What I do, how I check my clones, how I get things going. And I don't think I've ever done this, like a close-up shot of doing this. So definitely check out my YouTube, John Burfello Official. And, of course, on my Facebook, direct message me there. And my Instagram, John Burfello Official once again. You guys have a great day. More on cloning in 3 more days. And, of course, more on seeds. We're going to talk about rooting seeds. Not rooting, popping seeds. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, I got some Chem 91 crossed with some Master Kush. We got some Deadhead OG topped with 10. I know we got to go. We're going to go. We'll talk more about these seeds with John in the next episode of Growing. Peace, guys.